A cold wind moved through the crowded train station in downtown Chicago. People rushed past each other, eyes on their phones, shoulders tense, minds full of deadlines and worries. No one seemed to notice the tired woman sitting quietly on a metal bench near the platform, but one man did. He was a billionaire. A man whose name appeared in business magazines, whose companies stretched across the country. Yet on that ordinary afternoon, he sat down right beside the woman everyone else had ignored. What happened in the next hour would not only change her life, it would change his forever. Before we begin this story, take a quick moment to subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more real and inspiring stories of kindness to people around the world. Now let's begin. David Carter was known as one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in America. By the age of 48, he had built a company worth billions. His schedule was packed with meetings, investors, and media interviews. Private jets and luxury cars were normal parts of his life, but that day, something was different. Instead of flying, David had chosen to take the train from Chicago to Milwaukee. He told his assistant he wanted a quiet trip to think. In truth, he had been feeling something strange lately, something money couldn't fix. He felt empty for years. He had chased growth, profits, and bigger goals. But lately, every achievement felt smaller than the last. He wondered when life had started to feel like a never-ending race. As he walked through the busy station, people rushed past him without noticing who he was. For once, he liked that feeling. No cameras. No reporters. Just another traveler waiting for a train. David spotted an empty seat on a bench near his gate and sat down. That's when he noticed the woman sitting beside him. She looked to be in her early 60s. Her coat was old but clean, and her hands rested quietly in her lap. A small paper bag sat at her feet. She stared ahead, lost in thought. Something about her expression caught David's attention. It wasn't sadness exactly, it was exhaustion. For several minutes, they sat in silence while announcements echoed through the station. Finally, David turned slightly toward her. Long day? He asked gently. The woman looked surprised that someone had spoken to her. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she gave a small smile. You could say that, she replied. Her voice carried both warmth and weariness. My name's David, he said. Maria, she answered. They shook hands briefly. Maria's hands were rough, the kind that told a story of years of hard work. David noticed the paper bag near her feet. Traveling somewhere? He asked. Maria nodded slowly. I'm going to Milwaukee, she said. My daughter lives there. David smiled. Same train as me. Maria's eyes brightened slightly. That's nice, she said. A pause followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. The loud station filled the silence around them. After a moment, Maria spoke again. I haven't seen my daughter in 3 years, she said softly. David turned toward her, interested. 3 years is a long time. Maria nodded. I was sick for a while, she explained. Cancer. David felt his chest tighten. But I'm better now, she quickly added, offering a brave smile. The doctors say I'm lucky to be here. David studied her face. There was strength there. Real strength, the kind built through pain. That's wonderful news, he said sincerely. Maria glanced down at the bag by her feet. I saved money for months to visit her, she continued. She just had a baby. My first grandchild. David smiled warmly. That must be exciting. Maria's eyes lit up for the first time. I can't wait to hold him. For the next 20 minutes, they talked like old friends. Maria told him about her daughter, Elena, who worked as a nurse. She spoke about the small apartment she lived in, the part-time cleaning job she worked after recovering from illness. David listened carefully. No one talked to him like this in his usual life. People around him spoke about deals, profits, or opportunities, but Maria spoke about family, hope, and gratitude. Then Maria said something that made David pause. You know, she said quietly, sometimes life gives you very little. But even then, kindness from strangers can make everything feel bigger. David looked at her curiously. What do you mean? Maria smiled. When I was sick, I couldn't work, she explained. One day I came home and groceries were sitting at my door. No note. No name. She chuckled softly. That happened 3 times that winter. David felt something stir inside him. Did you ever find out who left them? He asked. Maria shook her head no. But whoever it was, they helped me survive. She looked around the crowded station. People think the world is cold, she said. But I believe there's more kindness than we see. David leaned back slightly. For years he had donated millions to charities through his company. But those donations felt distant, numbers on spreadsheets. Maria's story felt different, real, human. Just then, an announcement echoed across the station. Train 417 to Milwaukee now boarding. People began gathering their bags and moving toward the platform. David stood. Looks like that's us. Maria picked up her small paper bag and rose slowly. As they walked toward the train together, David noticed how carefully she moved, as if her body still carried memories of illness inside the train. They ended up seated next to each other again. The ride would take about 90 minutes. Halfway through the trip, Maria reached into her bag and pulled out a tiny knitted blanket. I made this for my grandson, she said proudly. David touched the soft fabric. It's beautiful. Maria smiled. I learned knitting from my mother when I was a little girl. She looked out the window for a moment. You know something funny? She added. What's that? David asked. I almost didn't take this trip. David raised an eyebrow. Why not? Maria hesitated. The ticket cost more than I expected, she admitted. For a while I thought maybe I should wait another year. David felt a wave of emotion. Another year meant another year without seeing her daughter, without meeting her grandchild, but I decided life is too short to wait, Maria said. David nodded slowly. You made the right choice. The train continued rolling through the quiet winter landscape. David sat quietly for several minutes, thinking. Finally, he turned to Maria. Can I ask you something? He said. Of course. If you could change one thing in your life right now, what would it be? Maria didn't answer immediately. She thought carefully, then she said something that surprised him. I wouldn't change my life, she said. David blinked. Really? Maria nodded. Yes. It's been hard, yes. But I have my daughter, my health, and now a grandson. She smiled gently. That's enough. David looked down at his hands. He had more wealth than most people could imagine, yet somehow, Maria seemed richer. When the train finally reached Milwaukee, passengers began gathering their belongings. Maria stood and picked up her bag. It was nice talking with you, David, she said warmly. David stood as well. I'm really glad we met. They walked together toward the station exit. Outside, Maria scanned the crowd. Suddenly her face lit up. Elena, she called. A young woman ran forward holding a small baby in her arms. Mom. They hugged tightly and Maria wiped tears from her eyes as she held her daughter. Then Elena placed the tiny baby in Maria's arms. Maria looked down at her grandson with pure joy. David watched from a few steps away, deeply moved. After a moment, Maria turned back to him. David, come meet my family. He walked over and shook Elena's hand. This is the man I told you about on the train, Maria said. Elena smiled. Thank you for keeping my mom company. David smiled back. It was my pleasure. Before leaving, David reached into his wallet and pulled out a small card. He handed it to Elena. If you ever need anything, he said gently, call me. Elena glanced at the card. Her eyes widened. She recognized the name immediately. Wait. Are you? David simply smiled, but Maria interrupted with a laugh. See, she said proudly. I told you. The world is full of kind people. David walked away that day with something far more valuable than money. He carried a new understanding. Sometimes the most powerful changes don't happen in boardrooms or billion-dollar deals. Sometimes they happen when one person simply chooses to sit down and care. And that's the beautiful truth about kindness. It doesn't require wealth, status, or power. All it takes is a moment of attention, a listening ear, or a simple act of compassion, because one small act of kindness can travel farther than we ever imagined. If this story touched your heart, Remember to subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, like the video, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration today. And remember, this kindness is free, but its impact can change lives forever.